So I bought one of these. Yes, the Sega Genesis Ultimate Portable Game Player. Says it has 85 built-in games, has an SD card slot with a 2.8 LCD display, and yeah. It's one of these Chinese knockoffs. Yeah, it's not like the NES Classic where it's made by Nintendo. This one's made by At Games. Yeah, At Games. Well, they're the guys that make those plug-and-play games. You know those systems you see in the store that you plug up to your TV and play them? And they boast that they got built-in games? They're those guys. And honestly, I've been wanting one of these for a while. I'm a Sega fanboy. My Sega Genesis just doesn't want to work. And my buddies tell me that I could just take a PSP, jailbreak it or something, insert SD card slot or something another, and then next thing you know I got like 1,000 games on it. But my PSP is kind of broken and I don't feel like trying to buy one. I also wanted something that I could kind of like toss around, and if it breaks, oh well. But do you know how much this sucker is? $80. I got mine for $20. Well, $25. I bought a 2-year plan for $5 because electronics and me don't really mix. My PSP looks like, I don't know, like I just played baseball with it, and my Sega Genesis doesn't work anymore. And this is like my 15th pair of headphones, so you know. So I decided, hey, if I'm making Steam Winter Sale Price Guide videos, let's make a guide if you should buy one of these beasts. So, let's examine it. One thing I'll say is the box does look nice. Yeah, I ripped it a little bit when I was trying to rip it open. But when you open it up, you'll notice something that's kind of, I don't know, bad. The fact that it's just an Ed carton. Yeah, my stuff wasn't wrapped in plastic or anything. It was just kind of in there. I've been playing this thing all day, and I gotta say, like, the size doesn't bother me that much. I know that there's several types of versions of these, and this happens to be the newest one. I've read online before I did this video that there's some that has a bigger display, there's some that have less games, there's some where the emulated quality is terrible, and I just said a word there that you should have a red flag toward. Emulated. These are emulated versions of the game. I mean, no crap, right? It's not like there's cartridges in here. But that means we have to judge its emulation quality on whether or not this is worth it. And for me, it's kind of hit or miss. Probably the worst thing about this daggum thing is the AV out. Look at that. Just a mono AV out. I don't have any cords with that. Look, I have a giant drawer full of cords. I don't have something that plugs into this that goes into an AV. How dumb was that anyway? Oh yeah, I guess I should mention before we look at the games, the thing next to it's the USB. It has a rechargeable battery inside of it, kind of like an Android battery. I would get it out, but too lazy. Then this is your SD card slot. Yeah, if you want to be a little extra shady, then you can just put some emulated games on this, stick it in this beast, and it'll play. But it only works with .bin and .smd files, so you can't play like NES games on this thing. Guess it makes sense. Well, this mono AV out kind of puts me in a weird position because now I can't film it using any sort of capture card, which means that I just gotta point the camera at the screen and talk as I play. So excuse the guerrilla style videography, and let me show you what these games are like. Alright, so the preloaded games are pretty nice. You got Alex Kidd, Alien Storm, Altered Beast, you know, the usual. And you got 9 pages of games. One thing I noticed, however, is that we actually have a couple unofficial games that I'm just like, what? Like, Adventure in the Park, Cross the Road, Jack's P, Jewel Magic, Curling 2010. It goes on and on. There's like 30 unofficial games, which means that there's only really like 45 official Sega games on this thing. But that's fine, considering that if you go all the way to the right, you can go to SD card, hit start, and then you can see the games that I have on my SD card. So you can see I got Ghostbusters, King of Fighters, Toe Jam, Earl, and the rest. I have 2 pages so far. So at least that makes up for it if you want to fill out those other games. But the 85 built-in games, kind of misleading. Anyway. The best way for me to show you how well the emulation is with the pre-built games. Because I'm assuming that the pre-built games is their form of the emulation. So let's just look at my favorite Sega Genesis game. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Sounds good so far, right? So to avoid copyright charges, I'm just going to let that be the only time that I play the volume and say that that sounds absolutely god-awfully terrible. It just doesn't sound like Sonic 2. Well, how does the emulation work? Well, let's get past the demo and actually play a little bit of Sonic and see how the emulation is. We'll just play it on mute. So I will say that the emulation quality of the game itself is actually quite nice. The controls feel good. I can do all the moves that I want to do that you can do with Sonic. You feel the blast processing. I mean, it doesn't seem like it'd be that hard to make this, and I'm doing pretty bad right now, but that's because I'm filming it in a weird way. But it runs really, really well, and I can't complain. I got Sonic 2 on the go, so hey, this is pretty neat. Now the biggest issue I'll show you is with Pack Panic, because it's the quickest way I can show you. I'll just lose on purpose. Like, I'm just gonna stack everything and lose on purpose. There we go. Okay, I've lost. So you get the game over screen. You get your score. I'm just gonna put because I don't want to type it all out. So there's my high score. Cool. Now, let's turn it off. Turn it back on. Let's go to Pack Panic. Let's lose on purpose again. Alright, so I lost again. And look, I'm entering my initials again in first place, and what I had before is not there. The saving on this thing does not work. And from what I understand and research online, it only works with a certain game. It works with Phantasy Star 2 and 3. Well, I mean, that's good, because if it didn't, then we'd all be screwed. But I don't know if it works on Shining Force 1 and 2 or not. And honestly, if it doesn't, I really don't want to try to, beat these games sitting in one time. But I've also read some rumors that if you go over to SD card, you load these up and you play these versions, the high scores and stuff will save. Though I haven't been able to play long enough or test it out to see if that actually happens. If it does, well, I'm excited. If not, well, the saving is kind of a problem that we need to have fixed. Now, it's time to talk about these SD card versions of the game. So I got Toe Jam and Earl, which is a game I really, really love. It's one of my favorite Sega Genesis games. I wasn't ready to pass Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but it's definitely something that should be mentioned. So you heard the bad sound quality of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Let's listen to Toe Jam and Earl, shall we? It sounds absolutely fantastic. And that's what I'm talking about. Good emulation. And so I think if you get an SD card slot version, then it will sound fine. But if it's pre-built on, it doesn't sound that great. I don't know. It's kind of hit or miss, like I said before. After reviewing the footage, I see that it's still kind of hard to tell the difference between Sonic and Toe Jam and the audio quality, because I'm holding that Sega Portable right up to my camera, which distorts the volume for a little bit. But the point is, the pre-built games kind of hit or miss. They sound good. Some of them sound okay, some of them don't, while the SD card versions sound absolutely fantastic. So all in all, I would say for $20, $25, it's great for something that's portable. I mean, unless you can find a Sega Nomad, which are rare and super expensive, then this is your best option. Now, if you're tech savvy and you don't really care about breaking the law necessarily, then buy yourself a PSP, jailbreak it, then put 1,000 games onto it. But one thing I will say that I like this versus a PSP is that it's lightweight and it's small. It does feel flimsy, and I feel like I might break this thing if I hold it too hard enough, but that has honestly been just a little bit of illusion in the fact that I'm trying to take care of my electronics. And since it does have a 2-year protection plan, I paid $5 for it, they'll replace it even if I do break this thing. So I would not pay $80 for this thing, $80 or $90, however much it is in your region of the world. But I would say if you can get it for $20, even $30, pick it up, because it's actually really worth it. And even if you are not tech savvy enough to go get emulated ROMs, put them on an SD card and stick them in here, the 45 officially licensed Sega games are definitely worth it because they hit all of the classics and the ones that are kind of must-haves. Big drawback is that you're only going to be able to play Sega Genesis games on here. I've gotten one or two Sega Master System games to work, and one Game Gear game to work. But most of the time, it's kind of just Sega Genesis is the only time that it really works. But I'd say it's worth a buy for the price that I got it for. And if you want me to cover it more in another video, I will. But this has just been a quick look at the Sega Genesis portable player. I'm a little late to the party because I know that this thing has been in the market for a while, but this is the newest version that I'm aware of. Before they were black and they had less games on it, and even before that they were even more primitive and had Android emulated graphics. So all in all, TLDR, pick this up if you want portable Sega games and if it's on sale. Thanks for watching, and if you want me to cover any other technology, let me know. If you like these type of videos, also let me know, because I might just do another technology video related on something else that I have stranded about in my room. For now, I'm going to play myself some Sega games.